Greetings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Chiatamo. Peace to my gods of earths. Wagwan. Sakpase. Que pasa. What's up? What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of GRUNT TV. I'm your host, Malik Shabazz, and this is just a quick follow-up from yesterday's podcast. So you can see part 2, episode 2. Just a quick follow-up, just to prove my point about when we live in an inverted reality and we don't understand that we live in an inverted reality, the stuff that comes out of our mouths is nothing but garbage. The two people, the person that I'm going to, the video that I'm going to show you now, it's The Hill with Brianna Joy Gray and Robbie Suave, and they spent 8 minutes. You know what? Before I even go to all that, I'm just going to show you the film, and then I'm going to come back, and then we'll come back and discuss. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to put the camera on the film, and then I'll probably just talk behind the film, so I don't have to keep moving the camera back and forth. All right? Give me 1 second. All right, give me 1 second. I apologize once again for moving this camera all over the place. And actually, okay, here we go.
I know you're all clamoring to find out, is the Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg cage fight really still on? Well, not according to the Meta CEO. He wrote on Threads this weekend, quote, "I think we can all agree Elon isn't serious and it's time to move on. I offered a real date. Dana White offered to make this a legit competition for charity. Elon won't confirm a date. Then he says he needs surgery and now asks to do a practice round in my backyard instead."
The post continued, "If Elon ever gets serious about a real date and official event, he knows how to reach me. Otherwise, time to move on. I'm going to
And also, I just want to apologize for subjecting you to this nonsense.
Focus on competing with people who take the sport seriously." Zuckerberg's post came just days after Elon took to Twitter to share some of the details of the fight, which he apparently is preoccupied with planning rather than training for. Should it happen, it will take place in an epic location in Italy. I think he wanted it in the Colosseum. Elon also said all proceeds will go to veterans and pediatric hospitals in Italy. So Elon actually released screenshots of his texts with Mark about this, and I know most people watching, I think, have warmer views toward Elon than toward Zuckerberg, which I understand. But from the screenshots that Elon himself shared of their conversation, Zuckerberg is completely correct. Zuckerberg was like, "Okay, let's do this. Here's a date. Let's do it." And then Elon was like, "Actually, I have to have surgery." And then he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in your neighborhood. Could we do a practice round in your backyard?"
Yeah, that feels like you're trying to suss out the competition.
Like, no.
To see if you want to renege or not. Like, if you're going to do it. What are you practicing for exactly?
Again, Zuckerberg is an automaton. He takes everything very seriously. He takes his jujitsu very seriously. Mm-hmm. I think he plays like Minecraft. He probably has, ants working in an ant colony or something. His house is probably just full of ant colonies. You know what I mean? He's serious about things.
Look.
So you can't. So Elon's like level, like, let's do it. Wait, no, let's do it at the Coliseum. That'd be cool. No, I just want to come by and swing it. It's just these two have such a different vibe. They're never going to.
I mean, you can kind of see it in how their companies came to be as well. Like, Elon Musk was born into a lot of money. He bought a tech company. You can say that he put a lot into it, and he's a great businessman. And without him, the company wouldn't have flourished. But he's someone who doesn't have any hard tech engineering background. He has largely been kind of managing these things as opposed to kind of drilling down, innovating, coming up with ideas, and coming up with new tech. Mark Zuckerberg was literally a 20-year-old college student who, as like a gag, invented an app that had kind of unforeseeable financial applications that enabled him to drop out of school as a sophomore and create.
Okay, let me please bring the camera real back real quick. All right, now I'm going to make some points really quick because this is going to be a quick little snippet. Okay, let's take this one bit at a time. Okay, one is that she claims that Elon Musk is a great businessman. Okay? No, he's not. He's a criminal, and he came from money. His family owned a emerald mine in Africa, where we had Africans in slave labor digging emeralds out of a mine for his father. So his father. These are the people who came to Tanzania, which we call it South Africa today, which we don't recognize as South Africa as Tanzania, to basically exploit and colonize Africans. So his wealth comes from that, okay? From being a criminal, his family being a criminal and exploiting people to become wealthy. Okay, that's one. Number two, Zuckerberg is, I call him Suckerbird. This degenerate psychopath, according to reports, because Facebook, who he owns and controls, conducted psychological experiment on 70,000 unconsenting Facebook users, which examined the news feed and the impact, on the mental health of people, feeding misinformation surrounding the 2016 elections. In 2018, Cambridge Analytica broke a story that Zuckerberg and Facebook harvested tens of millions of Facebook users for ad targeting, and it also revealed that Facebook was used to incite genocide against Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar by military officials. Okay, so Rihanna Greyjoy of Bad Faith, again, what I talked about before, being well-meaning. They come off as well-meaning, and she probably is, but the problem is that she's stuck in this paradigm, in this inversion that she doesn't even understand, and that's why she praises people like Zuckerberg and Musk and Elon Musk, two European criminals who basically, again, like I said, you cannot become a billionaire, filthy rich like these two suckers without being a criminal. All right, so that's that. So they spent 8 minutes. As a matter of fact, it was 8 minutes and 4 seconds. They spent 8 minutes and 4 seconds talking and giddy, laughing and giddy, and like it's something that's so cute about two criminals, when they could have took those 8 minutes and they could have lodged a full-fledged investigation on people like Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, two who are responsible for the coronavirus pandemic. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that if you do not understand that you living in an inverted reality, this is how you report people like them. But if you understood that you lived in an inverted reality and you did your homework and you were not intellectually lazy, you would know that these two people are criminals and you will report them as such. Okay? So this is what I mean by being trapped in this paradigm. That we have a tendency to praise criminals in this inverted reality. So, again, they spent 8 minutes giddy, laughing. Oh, they're going to fight or they're not going to fight, and at the beginning of the broadcast, oh, so many people are waiting for this fight. That, no, people are waiting to find out when the gas prices are going to go down, if they're going to go down, the food prices are going to go down, when the rent's going to go down, if we're going to get health care, if the war in Ukraine and all around the world, in Africa, is going to cease and desist, and again, it all boils down to one thing. As long as capitalism reigns supreme, the problems that it produces, that we find ourselves trying to solve every day, will never be solved. Because the way it works is, if capitalism always has to contract and expands, it contracts and expands. And when it contracts, it usually contracts because there's a lot of social pressure on particular issues, cultural issues or whatever. And so what they do is they say, okay, we're gonna contract, we're gonna make abortion legal, and then 50 years down the line, and then it said, but we're gonna take it back. And then 50 years down the line, what happened? They took it back. Unions who fight corporations on behalf of their behalf of the working class, sometimes they have victories. Like UPS just got a victory. But what they do is they, okay, we'll give you this, and then they say behind the scenes, in 2 years, we're gonna take it back. And they do just that. Because this is the nature of capitalism. Okay? And I'm going to show you somewhat of a direct connection with what just has been taking place right now in Maui, Hawaii, with these fires. You know, like when it first came on, I didn't make much of it. I said, okay, a fire. You know, I said, but I wonder what really happened. That's the question I always ask myself. Oh, there was a fire in Maui. It's really, really bad. What really happened? Was it really a fire, a natural fire? Excuse me. Right? So lo and behold, through my research, going through on the internet, scouring, I ran into a documentary, not a documentary, a broadcast, a podcast broadcast. At this podcast broadcast, one of the guests in this broadcast is this guy named Kenneth O'Keefe. This dude used to be a Marine, but man, he is freaking hardcore. You should check him out and stuff that he says. A white dude too, and he lives in Hawaii. And so now I'm going to show you this footage. Hold on. I'm going to show you this footage on this particular podcast. And the reason I'm showing you this footage is twofold. One is so you can see that something fishy about this fire is going on. And two individuals, Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey, Mark Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey, were featured in this. Their names popped up in this podcast, and not popped up because they were good people. Okay, Oprah is not a good person. She's a low-life psychopath, a degenerate, who uses her platform and her wealth to do wrong. Don't forget, don't you remember? Everybody knows that she was butt buddies with Harvey Weinstein, and everybody knew that Harvey Weinstein was freaking raping women that wanted to work in Hollywood, okay, and other stuff. She was also familiar and knew about and was friends with Jeffrey Weinstein, you know, who we now know was a pedophile. Not only a pedophile, but he was a financial criminal. Okay, he was a financial criminal and a pedophile. Okay, who took young children, teenagers, especially from poor, disadvantaged, poor communities, and lowered them with money and stuff like that, and raped them. So if you don't know the story about him, you should just check out everything that he's done. So again, like I said, you know, these people are not good people. And if we understand those in this independent media world, if they understood the inversion, they would not report this like this. They could have used those 8 minutes to investigate Fauci and Bill Gates, Hell Gates, for their involvement in the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, I think I mentioned that already, but I'm mentioning it again because it's important. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk behind the film, but I'm going to show you that you're going to see, not show you, but I'm going to show you what's going on, and then it's up to you to make up your mind to go further on and investigate. You see, and again, like I said, when you have stuff like this going on, and then you got people spending 8 minutes like giddy and foolish and infantile discussion about these two criminals, they could have been saying, wait a minute, let's take this 8 minutes and let's invest. What happened in Hawaii? What happened in Maui? Is there really a fire? Or was it something else? If it's something else, then it comes to find out that it was natural, then it's natural. But now that some information has already gotten out as to this fire, and there are people that who live on the island have been witness to, and that fire that took place in California is similar to what happened in Maui. See, that's what I'm saying. When you understand the inversion, this is the approach that you take until proven otherwise. But when you don't understand it, you spend 8 minutes giddy on some infantile discussion about 2 fucking criminals. Okay? 2 criminals. So we're gonna show this now, and I'll talk behind the camera, then I'll come back out, and then we'll just finish it off. I just wanted to do this quick brief podcast as episode 2, just to kind of give you a sense of what I was talking about yesterday. If you haven't watched the podcast, you should watch it. And every day when I scour through the news, through all these podcasts, as I usually do, I'll pick a particular footage, and then I'll keep exposing this inversion and how and why. When they report certain things, they report the way they do because they don't understand this inversion. Okay, so again, just as a brief recap, remember, if you recall, if you watched the other yesterday's podcast, I said that the first time that when coronavirus was announced and everything was shut down, the first thing that came to mind that I said to myself, and I had been vindicated on this, that the coronavirus was intentionally created and intentionally released. Okay? I'll show you this. And again, and now that we know all this, and we have all this information, yet no one has been charged with a crime and no one has been to prison. So now we're going to go into this film. Move the camera one more time and I'll talk behind the camera. Okay, my apologies. Okay, just so I turn that light off so it doesn't be too much. All right, here we go.
It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new Lahaina.
Local residents have been reporting bright flashes of light. One was captured by a home security camera that appears to have been the start of the Olinda fire. Many people are saying that it was directed energy weapons. We know that most major governments already have them. And during the California fires, online weather maps recorded what looks like a laser from above, striking an area just before it bursts into flames. In his research, Dennis Mills discovered that the incendiary aluminum...
And that picture right you see in the video, those are chemtrails. If you don't know about chemtrails, you should look them up, because chemtrails, they're dropping poison on everybody, and they're just fucking up the goddamn planet.
Aluminum and barium nanodust from chemtrails is most likely fueling the ferocity of today's so-called super wildfires. And on the day before the Maui fires broke out, locals were reporting a heavy overcast from chemtrailing that they'd never seen before. It's also interesting to note that the Maui police chief was the incident commander for the Las Vegas mass shooting in 2017.
Did you hear that? The same dude that was in charge of that is now the Maui police chief in Maui.
Lahaina is considered to be a historic and sacred land. It was the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii before it was taken by the United States. It's been occupied by Native Hawaiians ever since, who are defiantly opposed to the mainland outsiders who have been buying up land with no respect for local culture. Not just BlackRock and Vanguard, but billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, who owns more land on Kauai than what the government of Kauai owns, and Oprah Winfrey, who has bought over 1,000 acres of land in Hawaii, including a new 870 acres in Maui she just bought this spring. In 2018, the Paradise wildfires broke out exactly where the United Nations have plans to somehow make off-limits to humans. And that same year, a report on wildfire prevention
And if you're not familiar with Agenda 21, you should check it out.
Was published that was focused on the exact same areas in Maui where the fires just broke out.
On the historic downtown, all of it is demolished and all the houses gone. But those commercial big box stores are still there.
Hawaii Governor
How is that possible? Everything burns except that.
Josh Green has been putting the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda ahead of Hawaiian interests. Just weeks before the fire, he unveiled an emergency proclamation on housing that eliminates the traditional Land Use Commission, allowing the government more leeway to build as they see fit, such as building 15-minute smart cities run by artificial intelligence, just like they've been planning to do in Hawaii for years.
At some point, I will make a major donation after all of the smoke and ashes have settled here, and we figure out what the rebuilding is going to look like. This is
He's a child molesting rapist.
a long and difficult process. You're going to see a lot of Phoenix stories rising from the ashes here.
Okay, now, I don't know if you were able to catch, I don't know, I'm sorry, again, I don't know if you were able to catch that voice in the background that she's a child molester and a child molester. So again, Oprah Winfrey with a crocodile tears, you think, like I don't have any proof right now, so I'm gonna speculate, and as we move forward in time, things will start coming out. But you think it's an accident that that very island caught that kind of fire? And Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey, probably the others who invested and got land and bought land there, and they're talking about that Zuckerberg owns more land than the actual government? How is that possible? You tell me, how is that possible? So again, as we wind down, it's mind-boggling. But if I was able to have a conversation with people like Brianna Joy, Grey Joy, and stuff like that, and I would ask her, and I would try to, I'm trying to point these things out, so maybe one day she'll see this video. Chances are she probably won't, but who knows, things have a way of turning out kind of crazy. But just to kind of express that, like, you wasted 8 minutes. 8 minutes when you could have used that 8 minutes to investigate criminals. And actually, you could have used that 8 minutes to investigate Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, whose family was freaking raping Africans and child labor and everything in their Emerald mines in South Africa when their families invaded the continent, Akibulan. So again, this is important. I think it's important that if we don't understand this inversion, we'll just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over, praising criminals, looking to them for direction because they're rich, and so because they're rich, supposedly they're so smart, and that's why they become rich, and they're such good businessmen that they're so rich. They're rich because they're such good businessmen? No, they're rich because they're criminals, and the laws that are designed in this country are designed to protect criminals like Elon Musk and Zuckerberg. Now, when you see, don't get it twisted, when you see people like the system coming down on Donald Trump, who's another criminal, but you see, this is what they do. This is what we're witnessing now, is that the elites are fighting against each other, because elites are not always united in the same approach. And now, since the empire is collapsing, you're starting to see all this. So Zuckerberg, who used Facebook to spy on people, to put misinformation in, and to censor other voices about what's going on. So he's a no good piece of shit, just like Musk and Oprah Winfrey and Gates and Fauci and the rest of these motherfuckers. Okay, so no, fuck them all, and we can report them as they. We have to make reports on them for who they really are. Nothing but criminals, degenerate, vile, disgusting human beings who have no shame exploiting children for sex and for other things. Have no shame in backstabbing people. Like I said, if you want to be that rich, you need to be a backstabber, a liar, a degenerate, a vile human being, and a scumbag. Okay? And a scumbag. So, and the same thing with Jeff Bezos. You know, when there was a tornado that hit. I forgot, I wrote it in my book, but I forget what state it was. One of his warehouses got hit, and they were told, the employees were told that they couldn't leave to go home and seek shelter with their families until that tornado passes. They were forced to stay there. If they left, they would lose their jobs, and and because they needed their jobs, because the system has them over a barrel with their pants down, some lives were lost. They were lost on the altar of capitalism. So again, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm doing what I can to try to get this information out, and hopefully one of these days, if I'm able to get on the Hill and be interviewed by her or any of these other podcasts, you know, that suffer from the same thought process, because they don't understand that they live in an inverted reality. I'm just gonna keep kicking it, and you know, maybe one day, you know, people will be like, yo, that brother, yo, he was right, you know. And you know, like I said, I ain't trying to be no smarty smart. I ain't no smarty smart, no smarty pants. You know, I don't really know, you know. But I have common sense, and I read and I research, and I'm not intellectually lazy. Okay, so on that note, my people, just want to do one last final plug. Again, just want to repeat it again. October 7th, which is Saturday, at the American Legion Post 209, we are having a symposium called the Journey with the Griots through the Power of Storytelling. And as always, I said that I would recommend some books at the end of my broadcast. So I want to recommend, if you haven't already, Neely Fuller. This is a good book. You should read it. Okay? And in the title, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. A compensatory counter-racist code. And let me just quote Neely Fuller. He said, if you do not understand racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you think you know will only confuse you. The second book that is, it's a must. It's a must. Yurugu. You got to get Yurugu. You got to read Yurugu. It's really not a book to read. It's a book to study. Go through it, because this seminal book written by Dr. Marimba Ani is pivotal to understanding a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. If you read Yurugu, then you know everything will come to you a lot more, much more clearer. So keep that in mind. And again, we shall see those who see this podcast. If you're in the Miami area or the Fort Lauderdale area or the West Palm area, the Tri-County area, we would love to have you on board. Come check us out, and come have some dinner and some conversation with us with Kwanzaa 365 Live. On that note, peace and love, family.